Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, dear participants. Greetings to you all. I am very happy to welcome you to yet another Common Europe webinar. I'm Ranga Deshpande, President of Common Europe. And just a small introduction to those who do not know Common Europe. We are an umbrella organization of 18 user groups, and they are from Power Systems, IBM I, AIX, and Linux. We are from Portugal to Spain in the west, and Russia in east, and from Norway in north to Italy in south. Our mission is to advance the professional development of our community through educational activities. Our annual flagship event is the Common Europe Congress, held normally in June. And I say normally because COVID has disrupted everything since last year. I will come to this in the next slide. Then we have the I2. This event happens in autumn, where one or two sponsors go around the countries to give in-person education on selected topics. After that, we have webinars all year round, where sponsors showcase their products that enhance our solutions, and that is what we are doing today. There are also webinars by IBM or industry experts to keep us abreast with latest topics. Next, since 2019, we have started a new activity, the Executive Day, that happens during the Congress. It is targeted at CIOs and IT directors to discuss strategy with top IBMers or discuss their concerns and issues with their peers. And of course, all these activities offer extensive networking. We are all knowing that networking is an essential part of our events, where you exchange ideas and discuss solutions with people from your companies, with your countries, and alas, we are all missing it since last year. And last, Common Europe has an advisory council. It consists of about 15 European technical experts from our user groups. IBM developers discuss current and future strategies with them in monthly calls and 2 face-to-face meetings. Then, I suppose all of you know the request for enhancements, where you can formally submit improvements to IBM product development teams. The second important mission of the Advisory Council is to watch the RFEs coming from the community, select the best ones or the ones having highest votes, and prioritize them for IBM developers. You can Google QRadar for RFEs if you want more information. Then I talked to you about our annual flagship event, the Common Europe Congress. Last year, we couldn't do it in person due to COVID, and its replacement was in November. That attracted 700 registrations. This year's Congress is scheduled for 13 to 16 June, and we hope it happens in person. But then we know it is not possible, so we have postponed it to October, November. The vaccination as we want. So we will inform to you about this later. So with this, common introduction is finished, and I will introduce you Shmuel Zeiler. Shmuel is a renowned expert in systems technology and has been with Raz-Lee Security since 1987. Over the past 30 years, he has successfully developed, sold, and marketed system related to optimization and performance software products, including the iSecurity product line. Prior to this, Mr. Zeiler managed the software departments of 2 large companies. In addition, He has in-depth knowledge in the fields of computer performances and served as a consultant to intermediate international companies in this area. Mr. Zeiler is a veteran of Israeli Defense Army Allied Computer Unit and holds a BA degree in computer science and economics from Bar Ilan University. So, Shmuel?
Ranga, let me say that this community is grateful to you for your assistance in common and your loyalty to this community and this organization for so many years. Actually, when I think about Common Europe, I think about you, and I'm glad that I have this opportunity to thank you in public. Thank you. Friends, today my name is Shmuel Zeiler, as I was introduced. With me, Zion Tarabelsi will be also sharing some of the presentation. We shall be speaking today about live ransomware attacks. Actually, I will be showing you live ransomware attacks. I'm not speaking about our simulator of ransomware. I'm speaking about live ransomware. So let's start with this webinar and let's start working. So our agenda today will be as follows. First, we shall be speaking about IT, about ransomware. While outside we have the COVID-19 or Corona pandemic, in the IT, the pandemic is ransomware. The question is, what is the connection between ransomware and IBM I? Can ransomware affect IBM Y or not? This is a good question. If it can attack an IBM I, the question is there a way to stop the ransomware? Because ransomware simply makes our system unusable. And if there is such a way, I will be presenting to you at the end the iSecurity anti-ransomware, a product which is already running for a while and is capable of stopping ransomware attacks and has proven this in life. Let's start. So what is ransomware? What I know about ransomware is simple. Ransomware is an attack. It comes from outside the design of the ransomware software. There are people who think only about money. Now, they will not create something which is dedicated for the IBM I. They will create something which is for the widest marketplace in their way of thinking, which is the Windows area. And as such, ransomware runs on a Windows machine. From that point on, it can attack everything. Now, does it attack everything? The answer is no. Ransomware does not interfere as much as possible with the activity of the system. The system continues working. The only thing which is attacked is the data file. Should you have a database, an Excel, Word, PDF, images, anything like this, they will be attacked. At the end of the attack, usually no one will be able to use these files. This is not usually, this is always, but usually you will find an extension added to the name of the file. This is not always. The new ransomware either create a random extension or do not create an extension at all, making it even more complex to detect them and to detect their activity after they have been active. It is also known that at the end of a ransomware attack, we usually see a screen like the one that we have on the right, telling us you must pay. If you have been attacked, you must pay to decrypt the files. You have a limited time, you should pay. In the past, the amounts of money were not high, were low. You can see here that they speak about $300 worth of Bitcoins. Not big deal. On the other hand, today, it's well known that those crooks, they demand in some cases several tens of millions of dollars or euros in our case, in order to get the decryption key. And now, after we get the decryption key, hopefully, because there is no one to complain if we just paid and we didn't get the decryption key. But if we got the decryption key, then we have to hook all the computers back and then run the decryption software, which was created by those crooks. The least I could say is that this is inconvenient. Let's continue. Some known information about ransomware. As you know, a data file become inaccessible. Ransom has to be paid. The number of ransomware attacks in the last, say, 6 months, according to some researchers, has increased by 80%. Even since the time that I have created this presentation, which was a couple of months ago, I hear more and more about ransomware attacks. I added here on the right some information about this. The estimate is that a ransomware attack costs about $1.1 million per attack. Organization stops its activity and reputation, and if you are in the stock exchange, you know what should happen. Some ransomware attacks that have been in the magazines and newspaper. You can see in the middle the German software AG company that has been attacked. They were demanded to pay $20 million. Okay? I will speak briefly, so I'll shorten. Just recently, Israeli insurance company has been attacked. They were requested initially to pay several $1 million. At the end, they negotiated, and it became to $1 million. But there was a problem because they are an insurance company. The government simply rejected the idea of paying to the crooks. There is actually in my country a law against this. So what shall we do? The only good thing which we can do for ourselves is to protect and not get into a situation where we have to consider this. And let's go. Okay, so now we know that ransomware is very dangerous. Now the question is, okay, we are on the IBM. IBM is well known as one of the most secured computers worldwide. We can always protect ourselves. We are not a Windows machine. They cannot intrude us. Is that right? Well, unfortunately, the answer is no. This is not right. Now, at this point, I will show you a brief video which presents our ransomware in general and our ransomware possibilities.
Every 11 seconds, ransomware attacks. Your IBM I isn't safe even if it isn't connected to the internet. Once the IFS is mapped to an infected PC, your IBM I is under attack. Antivirus cannot stop the attack. It can just summarize the results. iSecurity anti-ransomware stops ransomware attacks immediately as they start, even if it is a zero-day attack. Your IBM I is facing these threats right now. You can't afford to wait. Contact Raz-Lee Security. www.razlee.com.
So this was explaining you. Later on, if you would wish, I can go over with you with this short video, because I think that all what I say here is concentrated in this 1 minute video. Let's continue. Summarize. So we thought that IBM I, we think maybe that IBM I is secured. Ransomware is probably an uncommon threat. Wrong. Ransomware hits, as per this video at least, every 11 seconds. If this video would have been created today and not a couple of months ago, probably the time was shorter. So ransomware is very common. IBM I is safe, isn't it? No, IBM I is not safe. The minute we map the folder of the IBM I to the PC, from the point of view of the PC, the IBM I folder is a general directory or drive. And as such, a running ransomware on the PC will attack it without any consequences. It will attack it with all its power. It will not distinguish between a disk of the IBM I and a disk of any other external disk for that PC. Some of us think that a antivirus which runs on the IBM I, and there are two of them, one of them we market, we produce, can stop the attack. Wrong. IBM I cannot stop. IBM I antivirus cannot stop an attack, a ransomware attack. What it can do is, after the attack, if there was an extension and the extension to the files is a well-known extension, then it will be able to report how many, let's say, casualties or compromised files he found on the disk. Too late a bit. Well, the only thing which might work is to have an antivirus on the PC, which is a good idea, but unfortunately, the PC zone is not in our hands. The PC zone is a different zone, and that zone goes over shaking here and there, and somebody is bringing in another computer, and somehow the antivirus was not active, things happen, and subject to that, the IBM I can be a candidate for an attack. As such, we must have a solution on the IBM I, because this is the only way for us to be sure that at least we did what we can in order to protect. I cannot promise you that we shall stop every attack and all the time, but at least in most of the times, we have proven our anti-ransomware to be able to stop the attacks. Let's continue. Now the question is, how can we recognize an attack of anti-ransomware if we are not on the same computer where the attack is started? The attack is from a Windows machine. We are the subjects only. We are only on the disk side of that PC. Well, there is a saying, if it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, it is probably a duck. And this slipped into my mind And I said at that time, the same might work, and it works for ransomware. If it behaves in a way that a ransomware behaves, then it is probably a ransomware, and let's not take any chance in such a situation. Even a false positive in this case is better than to fall into the results of an attack. In order to prove this, we have built in our organization a laboratory. In this lab, we have a dedicated IBM I, not the one in the picture, but that one fits well to the screen. We have a dedicated LAN, not a regular LAN. We are afraid of ransomware, not only you. And we have, of course, a dedicated computer. Actually, it's not a dedicated computer because that dedicated computer is being ruined after every single test, because the attack is not stopped on the Windows machine. It destroys it and tries to destroy also the IBM I. So we have another computer which builds that Windows machine again and again by virtual machines and so on. So it's quite complex. Then we have the live ransomware. You can see a list of live ransomware on the left of the screen. You can see several names, beautiful names, as long as they are in the papers or in the magazines, but not in our neighborhood. In our neighborhood, we must isolate the lab and test ransomware by themselves. This is our product. This is the anti-ransomware product. Here you see the green version, but it comes also in a GUI version or a web version, depending on your preferences. You decide which dialect of interface you prefer. The way that it works is like this. We do some setups, and then it continues working by itself. Doesn't interfere with anything. Should there be an attack, the attack will be stopped. That PC will be prevented from reaching the IBM I, and the attack information will be written to here, to the line in white, which is work with detected attacks. We then have the possibility to clear out the situation and remove that detection and allow continuation of work if we decide so. Now, I explained to you how complex it is to watch several screens all together. And so we have to watch the attacker, the attacked, the way that it looks from the IBM I, the anti-ransomware. So in order to see this, I will show you a live ransomware attack taken, shortened a little bit, of course, and we don't want to stay here as long as it takes, in live. Now, this presentation or this video will show you a live attack of Sodinokibi. They didn't arrange with me the right names for me. So Sodinokibi is one of the most popular ransomware and very hard to detect. So I will show you how it works without anti-ransomware. AR stands for anti-ransomware in live. Let's see. Okay, before we continue, I will explain you what you see. On the left, you see the IBM I. That's clear to all of us. On the right, you see actually three different things. You see a folder, which is the background on the top, which is from this PC, the PC that is shooting out the attack. and it shows on the screen some pictures. Why pictures? Because the minute a picture is corrupted, it is simply not displayed anymore because there is no picture anymore. So it's very convenient for us to understand when an attack has occurred. So on the upper right part, we see the PC. On the lower right part, what we see is a folder of the IBM I, which is mapped. Later, in a second or two, you will notice that we shall show also the same folder from the IBM I perspective. We are now showing that the anti-ransomware is not active. And that there are no detected ransomware attacks. We now, this is the recycle bin. I'll be speaking about it at the end if we have time. And we shall show the work link that you see on the right lower side of the screen, which has a camel and a chimp as the beginning. And you will see the name a camel JPG. You will see here a camel JPG and a chimp. And here on the middle, we have a ransomware, and we click on that ransomware, waiting to see what happens. What I can tell you, okay, and click. Yeah. On the upper right side, we shall see the images disappear. This means that they have been compromised. You can also see that each of them carries now a random number as the extension to signify that they have been attacked. We continue now, or the ransomware attacks continues, and now we concentrate on the way that this PC is seeing the same folder that we see on the left side. So you see the camel, you see the chimp, and no camel and no chimp. But instead, you can see the number of the extension, the random extension following. And you can see also on the left side of the screen, the way that it shows you the folder with the compromised files and their extensions. So this was an attack while anti-ransomware was not active. Now, the next thing that I would like to do is simply to go and to activate the same attack while anti-ransomware is active. First of all, we shall show you how we do the setup and confirm that anti-ransomware is working. If this starts. Okay, it's almost the same setting as in previous, except that by mistake, we exchanged the sides here. So this is the company data, which is the folder of the IBM I, and this is the folder of the PC itself, and this is the ransomware attack, and this is how we work with the anti-ransomware on the activities. So we go into option 81, which is our global definition, global configuration, and we can see here that anti-ransomware is not active. As such, we continue. We can now go to activate the anti-ransomware. We activate the anti-ransomware. This requires setting up, resetting a few things in the IBM I. And now we are in a situation where the anti-ransomware is active. As such, let's see the link which we see on the upper right part, as it can be observed from the IBM I side. And you see the camel, you see the chimp, and this gives you enough to understand that what we see. Yeah. Okay. Now let's see what happens when we click and attack. Okay. Let's remove this so that we can concentrate in the pictures, and you can see that the lower part, which is the folder of the PC itself, is now compromised, and a random number has been added to all the files. And at some point of time, we get a message. Look at this message. It doesn't say that something happened. It says this time that Windows cannot access anymore the computer and the folder which was mapped to it. This is exactly how anti-ransomware should work and work. So now what we have to do is we understand that the anti-ransomware has stopped the connection to, stopped allowing the connection from the PC to the IBM I. Let's see how many compromised files we have on the side of the IBM I. So we concentrate now on the side of the IBM I. Let's first see that we have detected something. So we go in, and you can see that this is the message and the time that we have detected an attack. Now let's see the link. And the question is, how many files have been compromised? As you can see, they not all are, everything is in proper situation, but you can see, for example, if you are sharp enough, you could see here that a README file of the ransomware was already implemented in our library, and perhaps we caught the ransomware in the middle or so. So you should expect to lose something, because we cannot, otherwise we cannot detect the activity of the ransomware. In this attack, by the way, we didn't lose anything. Okay, let's continue, and in this case, finish this. Yeah. And go to the next one. Now, let's take another anti-ransomware, which is even more popular, at least for us. It's not one that is used daily now. The Sodinokibi is a very popular these days. WannaCry was very popular in the past, but every ransomware gets new versions, and every second day you can hear that there is another version of an old ransomware attacking. Let's see. This time it is going to be much shorter. I will not have to explain you in details. So attack on unprotected PC. This time again with the WannaCry. So we take these are the list of ransomware and other violations, and the information about the PC. We see it now, and yes, everything has been compromised. A message appeared on the screen. So this is the anti-ransomware without, this was a ransomware without the anti-ransomware working. Now we go and activate the anti-ransomware. Same setting. This time you see some of the screens which help us tell exactly what we expect to find and how to work with it. We activate the anti-ransomware, and we shall run it again. Of course, we had to rebuild the computers meanwhile, and so on. So excuse us for not showing it in live. It would have taken several hours. And this is what we get. We get message in QC Soper. we get a message on the PC that we cannot access the folder anymore. We see the message on the PC. We see the detected attack, which tells us, hey, we discovered an attack. Here you could see that one file we caught in the middle. So this was the original file, and this was converted and encrypted in this. And just before the ransomware had to delete this file, we stopped it. The top file, yes? So we managed to do it quite fast. And of course, we get a message by email as well. So there are a few ways that we inform about what is going on. Okay, I think that this is good enough for us to understand what we have seen until now. Okay. At this point, I would ask Zion to take control. Zion is our head of international support and professional services. Zion, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you, Shmuel. So the first question that comes in mind when we see the screen is basically a question that starts with the beginning and installation of the iSecurity anti-ransomware. How does it work? This is the question that we already received during this demonstration, this demo today on the webinar, on the Q&A. So the dashboard Threat Prevention Center that we see now actually represents the iSecurity anti-ransomware behavioral behind the scenes. First of all, you need to understand that this is the plug and play product. Installation, implementation, and activation takes anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes. Yes, indeed, like mentioned already through the webinar, you will need to restart some of the servers. So the activation has to take place during a Windows service. But what is it that we see on the screen? We have a few layers of indicators that actually represent the fact that the computer is currently being attacked. It's nice to see that there are very hard to pronounce ransomware names like Pseudonokibi or WannaCry, which is kind of funny. But at the end of the day, what we should be considering is what is pronounced as zero-day attacks. So the product is a state-of-the-art technology that gives us not only a signature-based detection that will obviously catch the ones mentioned like WannaCry and all the others on the list in the signature. We need to protect ourselves from the ones not listed in any list of the current existing ransomware lists. So the product gives you analytical, behavioral, and detection based on signatures. So we're actually opening some sort of a counter that runs between the 50 seconds or 30 seconds like listed on this screen, number of checks. We're counting the indicator of alerts that is being detected. So all indicators, which is a very strong detection, probably a known ransomware attack, we count, it's enough for us to count 3 checks in 30 seconds to announce the product, yes, this is a live attack coming and we need to mitigate the risk. So the second part would be some indicators are being switched on as detection of attack currently taking place. And then the last third layer, we have the 0-day, which is unique to the iSecurity anti-ransomware. No other software worldwide can provide this feature. And to my opinion, this is one of the most important pieces of an anti-ransomware, because it's nice to protect yourself from something that happened yesterday, but with the ransomware, you need to protect yourself from something that would happen in the future. Like mentioned during this webinar, the teams behind ransomware are highly trained, sophisticated, and they're only after for one thing, and that is your pocket, your money. They're not looking to get you humiliated or anything of that nature. So we mentioned the 3-layer of analytical behavioral detection of the software with the number of counts, and we have on the right-hand side the reaction. Okay, what is ransomware? What is this ransomware going to be prevented by the software, but how it's going to be reacted. What is the iSecurity ransomware, anti-ransomware going to do in your system? Above those 3 layers of checks, we also have a certainty in percents that we're currently setting to 50% certainty of understanding, of analyzing if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and so on and forth. So if it's 50%, we're going to also treat this one event as an attack that takes place on the environment. So let's see now the same exact screen that we have on the native display, the good old green to black display. Let's see the same display on the GUI coming from iSecurity. If you're preferring the GUI, which is also GUI that comes via the web, the behavioral and look and feel is actually exactly the same. On the detection area, this is the main question. Okay, but how do you do that? We keep getting these questions. How do you get iSecurity anti-ransomware to detect and prevent in real time the ransomware attack? This would be the only question that we cannot answer like on the fly and provide you all the details and secrets of the recipe that was presented in this state-of-the-art technology software. We can only say that analytical, behavioral, and signature-based are all being used to detect and prevent any ransomware that would hit you and try to get your system to be compromised in some way, or in some cases where the attacker, the PC used to actually run the software of ransomware is an all object or a strong user profile that runs in the system. You might even reach to the point where the actual TCP/IP configuration files stored in the IFS, part of the configuration files are stored in the IFS. They can also be attacked, and true event from almost 3.5 months ago, one of the customers were actually compromised 2 out of 20 systems. They had to physically rebuild them. So we're not talking only about loss of data, we're also talking about the actual hardware. The computer was unreachable, they needed to rebuild it. Needless to speak about the cost and time efforts lost to recover from this situation. So let's see how this screen looks from the GUI, which is also, again, like mentioned, a web-based feature. For those of you who prefers the GUI environment, the look and feel coming from our software house is exactly identical. It's the same teams. They have weekly meetings, and they do the development hand in hand, side by side. So once you know how to use the native screen, when you go to the GUI, it looks exactly the same. So we have all indicators, some indicators, strong indication of a 0-day, and the period of seconds that you decide to do the checks, and the certainty in percents. Above this 3-layer detection, we also incorporated into the anti-ransomware one additional tool that comes as a honeypot detection, where we place in all certain locations in your directories files that no one, well, I don't need to explain what is a honeypot, but no one should reach to. And if a detection comes to this point, someone activated or touched what is called the honeypot, then we also know that unauthorized or something suspicious take place in your environment. We said that we reach to the certainty that there is an attack. So what would happen? What can we do? How can the software react other than preventing the attack? What else can it do? First of all, like seen in this webinar, great videos, we can inform the QC software. We can also send a message to the SIEM, and this incorporates the iSecurity on your iSeries to the standard security teams in your sites, which to my opinion is one of the greatest features, because you don't need to assign someone that would be attending the event in case of an alert, and this is out of the ordinary. Someone from your standard security teams would react in no time to the event, because there would be a ticket on your SIEM provider software. In addition to that, you can also send the system administrator an email, and regardless to the actual operation mode of the software. Needless to say that the software comes in two levels. One is simulation. We call that FYI, acronyms for your information. And the second one is real mode, regardless to the mode you're going to choose, whether it's going to be FYI, which is simulation, or real mode. In any case, if we detected, according to your policy, the numbers we saw on the previous screen, the attack from this specific IP will be stopped in any case. So this mitigates and reduces the risk, to my opinion, in a way, and according to what we see from the market and the response that we have already from the installations that we have, and believe me or not for saying so, we get requests and POCs for these tools on a daily basis, again, because it's a plug and play and it's very easy to work with. So the attack is going to be stopped regardless. What happens in real mode then? The question comes, okay, so what's the difference between simulation mode and real mode? Should we detect, according to your policy, attack that takes place in real mode, we're going to stop the file server and permanently on the spot. So no one can actually access the system, and that is to get a solidation of the environment, understand where the attack is coming from, and 2-3 minutes later, you can go ahead and switch it back. But coming from the software, you can understand that there is an attack that takes place on your environment. The system responded to it. The software is blocking, enforcing, preventing the attack to be blocked on the PC side. You probably noticed during the videos that the ransomware were detected, the malware were detected on the PC side, but it did not get them to stop and compromise the files on the I series. This tool would do it for you. We also have some additional advanced options that requires client installations that allows us to actually shut down or hibernate the attacker or send a message to him. You're currently sending through the network a ransomware attack, or your activity is suspicious, please hibernate yourself, shut down, and if the client is installed, then this PC will be stopped. I don't know if I can say the word lucky. So if you're lucky enough, when the attack would hit on your site and it would be forced on your I series before Windows, Linux, and any IAX systems that you have spread in your network, if you're lucky enough and we send this message to the PC attacking your environment, we not only saved your I series, but also the remaining platforms where I'm not sure you have the anti-ransomware installed. So you get two birds in one shot. We also have the ability to call on this system programs to do sophisticated functionalities. In this point in time, I should mention that the iSecurity anti-ransomware requires no programming knowledge. It's as simple as a 5 to 15 minutes installation, activation with the learning curve of 0. The same look and feel of reaction to attack, like we mentioned, comes in the GUI. And it's, well, very, very self-explanatory. There is no need. If the teams from the security portion, like we mentioned, if we inform the SOC, they should be in charge of iSecurity anti-ransomware. They don't even need to log in to the native display. They can be listed as a user operator of iSecurity anti-ransomware, and they can use it through the web or from a GUI that requires a client installation on their PC. How does it look? This is the message that comes to the QSysOper. You get all the information about the attack, where the attack is coming from, and the ransomware was a strong indicator because in the brackets we can see that all indicators were activated. So you know for sure that currently this Raz-Lee 1 system got hit with a ransomware from the IP. The same look and feel with the system name plus IP of the attacker and the user that was used to run the attack. Like we explained before, some of the FTP IP configuration files are stored on the IFS. Knowing the user that was used to attack your environment is extremely important. I can immediately go and check whether this user is considered one of my high privilege users. And if that's the case, I should be very concerned about it, maybe even turn off the user, disable its connectivity to the system until we got a resolve, an understanding of the picture, what happens in my environment. So with that being said, I can see, okay, I can see that also questions are coming through the Q&A. Once infected by ransomware, files are encrypted. Okay, so very sorry to answer this question that like in the opening, once you got hit with the ransomware, there is literally nothing that can be done. If the files are compromised, that means that they were encrypted. And as we can see in the detection attack, in the dashboard of the tool, we have a live attack that is actually coming from that specific IP address. Like we saw in the video, there is no possible way for this IP to connect again unless we permit it to do so. What happens with protection? What happens without protection? Is iSecurity anti-ransomware 100% bulletproof? Well, the answer, to be honest, is no. No one can guarantee 100% success with an anti-ransomware tool. If someone says otherwise, he is, well, let's put it this way, not telling you and not being honest with you. But what we can see is the tremendous effect of with protection, where the number is anywhere between 1 to 5. These are the numbers that we get from the market installations, in this case, 2 files. And on the left-hand side, 2,217 files got compromised. Where would you get a good, solid backup procedure to get these files back in your system? What would be the overall cost of actually recover from such a situation? So I would say from an ROI point of view, iSecurity anti-ransomware, with all the descriptions we have provided so far, the fact that it's plug and play tool, and the abilities that it comes, and it's a proven in the market. It's not like we have done the labs, which was quite sophisticated. We actually got the market to respond to it as working.
Thank you, Zion. I'll take over. Some technical information. Yes, we use some exit points of on the IBM I, but the way that we have implemented the software is that we do not, we are not, although some of those exit points accept only one program, still we shall run any existing program which is there and be able to do our work. This prevents any hesitation whether it is going to interfere with existing exit programs on that exit point. Excuse me. Ransomware extensions are collected on our website, and daily, if not hourly, we are updating this list of known file names and known extensions, which is, of course, one of the measurements, not all of them, that we use to detect existing ransomware. So your system will simply download them directly from the web to the IBM I, or via a proxy machine. It is also possible. Performance-wise, no problem with performance. The performance footprint is absolutely low. Some additional features, because of the play, because we control all the activities with files, we could and we did added a recycle bin. The recycle bin cannot help you with the ransomware because they know how to do the order of the encryption and deletion and so on. That will not assist us, but usually, but at least it's a good benefit that you can find that you have finally a recycle bin for the IBM I. We also plan something which will be like an API telling, or a command, which allow programmers on the side of the PC to tell to the IBM I, hey, don't control me for a while, I am programming. Okay. So this is the recycle bin. You can see the setup of the recycle bin. This is being emptied automatically every 7th day. and you can see the files here, and same file can appear again and again, and you can simply take it out and restore it. Well, protecting from ransomware. On your LAN, you should always secure the network for all and ensure that you have all recent updates. That's a good idea, always, don't forget it. Use antivirus on all your systems. You cannot guarantee it, but it's excellent to know that you try as hard as possible. And if you do it, then you protect yourself. On the IBM I, you have to have anti-ransomware working in even in FYI mode is good enough, because it will stop only the attacker, but this is good enough. And always, and again, always, keep excellent backups, because there might be a possibility that you will need it. Okay, so this finishes our presentation. I'm going to thank you, first of all, so that I don't forget at the end. Thank you for the stage which you provided us to show what we think is very important for all the marketplace. Thank you again. Now, questions.
Okay, as per the first last question that appeared, can we get a quote? I can see that some of the participants are already asking. So the team will be very happy to assist you offline, obviously. So you can feel free to approach us via the web, marketing@razlee.com, or support@razlee.com, any would do for this point in time.
I just read a question about high availability machines. Well, high availability machines, we have to consider two aspects. First, they cannot assist us if we don't have any anti-ransomware, because everything which happens on the main computer will be copied and replicated on the high availability machine, and as such, it is not a safe for files. It will be compromised as well there. Then, of course, you need the anti-ransomware on that machine, because the minute that you take the high availability machine and you map some of it for any reason to any PC, then you are open to be attacked, and you need it as well there. Well, how many ransomware have we tested? Well, we didn't count. It's not that easy, but I think that we have done at least 15 or 20 ransomware we are testing quite regularly. And when we get to know that there is something new which is coming, we use it. By the way, some of them we are testing in several dialects, you know, from different dates and so on, different extension. I don't know what is so different between each of them and the other. I just get all the new ransomware and put it on to the lab, and the lab people are testing it again and again. Okay. Again, why is antivirus not insufficient? Antivirus is insufficient because antivirus for the IBM I cannot stop an attack when it occurs. It can just tell us how many files have been compromised already, as we saw in the short video which we demonstrated first. On the other hand, it is very important to have antivirus on the PC area, but the question is if we can count on it. Friends, I think that this will be a good point for us to say goodbye to all of you. Thank you very much. And if you have any other questions, we shall be more than glad to answer them. Please feel free to contact Raz-Lee Security. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shmuel. It was really, really very interesting, and I'm quite sure that people now have understood that they need ransomware. It is scary, and the video you had shown told us we need to be careful. So my message to all of you, all participants, please look at this and please be aware. Don't put your head in the sand like an ostrich. It comes to everybody, only some who don't know that it has come. So be careful and follow Raz-Lee.